Our second sacred text for this morning comes from Wayne Mueller's book, A Life of Being, Having, and Doing Enough. Before we can accept things as they are, we must first learn to see things as they are. There is precious little to be gained and much to lose by seeing things as we wish them to be. Still, it is a seductive habit and difficult to break. Our hearts get broken open by love and loss, and we often spend long months agonizing with wildly different feelings and responses. But in the end, the one reliable path to peace and serenity involves some practice of rigorous, honest acceptance of what is simply, inarguably true. When begrudging acceptance slowly becomes a full-hearted, honest, loving acceptance, some uncontrollable, unpredictable alchemy invariably has its way with us as we begin to feel grateful. Yes, we can practice it, try saying it, journaling, or writing about it, and these are all good, useful tools. But the truth is that acceptance simply becomes gratitude. Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic, has been quoted as saying, "If the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, that would be enough."
My friends, it's a true blessing to be able to do this work with colleagues like Tom and Emily Joy. So I've struggled with the content of this scripture and this message for this whole week. But let me say how helpful it is to be able to sit down as a trio on Tuesday mornings, talk through this stuff together. So early in the week, we sit in Tom's office like we always do, and we plan and explore this week's scripture and the related passage you just heard from Wayne Mueller. And after talking through some of the particular meaning these concepts had for each of us, we settled on a key understanding for the week that I'd like to share with you, collective wisdom. Are you ready? Getting to gratitude is a process of at least 3 parts. To see things as they really are, to release things that are lost, and to allow new life to emerge. Moving toward gratitude is a process of at least 3 parts. Seeing things as they really are, releasing things that are lost, and allowing new life to emerge. So one of the most formative and painful experiences in my life was when my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. At the time, we all saw it coming a mile away. It's not like my parents were fighting all the time, but there was definitely a lot of tension and arguing. My parents took a sabbatical at one point, which meant that they were taking intentional time apart. My mom would take care of my brother and I by day, and my dad would get home from work and ring the back doorbell, and then my mom would go out the front door. This would go on for a few months, and when my parents finally sat my brother and I down and told us they were going to have a divorce after it all, we weren't really that surprised. In fact, I remember trying to make myself cry in that conversation, because you're supposed to be sad when your parents are. It was kind of like, yeah, I know, like, duh. It's like I have to at least appear to be sad about this, right? Really wanted to look the part. And then from that point on, my mom and my dad, they carved out a custody agreement that was basically 1 week on, 1 week off. Every Friday, switch from mom's house to dad's house, then back to mom's house again the following Friday. They maintained this arrangement for the better part of 12 years until my brother went off to college. During that time, first my mom, then my dad remarried. My dad and my stepmom are going strong. They've been together about 10 years now. 12 years, I guess. Huh. Where do they go? My mom and stepdad adopted 2 girls as infants, and they're now 14 and 11 years old, respectively. They have been married for about 15 years until this past winter. They're now in the process of getting a divorce. Yeah, I'm pretty sad about that. But it's amazing how something like a divorce in your family can impact your worldview, can impact how you turn out. Depending on how well you know me, you probably know that I'm fairly conflict avoidant. Tom and Emily Joy are shocked at this revelation. I'm tempted to go off on a tangent about how we used to sit around. Never mind. Okay. So I'm conflict avoidant. Maintaining good communication and maintaining good relationship with people is really important to me. For those of you who know what the Enneagram is, I'm a type 9, the peacemaker, the bridge builder, the connector. Or maybe you know what the Strengths Finder assessment is. One of my top 5 strengths is connectedness. My motto as I move through the world could be summed up by this common expression: can't we all just get along? So Tom and Emily Joy and I laugh about it because, that's not really your motto, is it? A little more yours, but, So at my best, I can bring a sense of balance and commitment and willingness and patience to engage with other people across differences even. I'm pretty good at that at my best. But at my worst, I lose my own voice. I become unable or maybe unwilling to take a stand when it's necessary, especially if that could result in breach. It's really interesting how much I've been shaped by the experience of growing up in 2 households. I wonder if any of you understand yourselves to have been shaped by your upbringing. So believe it or not, though I look back on this experience with a lot of sadness that I, for some reason, couldn't muster that day, I'm at a point today where I'm actually really grateful about how things have turned out. I'm grateful to my parents that they were able to acknowledge the truth that their relationship had dissolved. I'm grateful that they chose to end their broken marriage rather than just going through the motions for years and years, and in so doing, modeling for my brother and I a dysfunctional way of being married. I'm really grateful for the presence of my stepfather and my stepmother in my life, for having nurtured me, and also the way they demonstrated their love for me and for my mom and my dad, and that they together gave me other examples of marriage to learn from. I'm grateful for my relationship with my sisters, even though it's hard to be out here while they're growing up a couple thousand miles away. My oldest sister just got on Facebook, so that helps. Selfishly, though, I'm also grateful that I turned out the way that I did because of all of this. I'm grateful to be committed to peacemaking and bridge building, that those things from that time are part part of what helps me be effective in this work. I'm grateful also that I came out of that experience with a strong commitment to marriage. That because of all of this, it was extra important for me to find a partner whom I love with my whole being, who is my friend, who is someone I will always be willing to work with and fight for, even and especially when times are hard. At the end of it all, I'm really grateful that one of the most formative and painful experiences in my life has also been the source of many rich blessings. So for me, moving toward gratitude mirrored that process of three parts: seeing things as they really are, releasing things that are lost, and allowing new life to emerge. For me, the hardest things to see as they really are were the simple facts that my parents were not happy together. They could not find a way to live together, and they would never reconcile as partners. Even saying those words out loud feels achy, feels hard. It's been 21 years, and sometimes I feel like I'm only just scratching the surface of my own issues around that. Seeing things as they really are can mean getting close to some real pain. But I believe it's a necessary step on the path that leads us toward gratitude. The second step is to release that which is lost. For me, it was easy enough, although painful, to acknowledge the simple truth of the finality of my parents' divorce. That truth was operative for a long time, but somehow, even as we reordered our whole lives around it, it took years and years, I think, to really sink in that my parents were really apart forevermore. There was a gap between that truth existing and my willingness to accept it. To be able to release my dream that someday, somehow, my family would be made whole again. I think this is the piece that I struggled with the most in my life, and that still gives me the most struggle around this today. To be able to release that which has been lost. To surrender my power, my preferences, my desire, and my ability to fix the things that are broken. It's one thing to face difficult truth. It's another thing to accept that I have a lot less control over a situation than I would like. And by seeing things as they really are and releasing that which has been lost, I am making the space for new possibilities to spring forth in my life. That's the third step on this journey toward gratitude, to allow new life to emerge. By letting go of the hopes and dreams that I had about that kind of reconciliation, I am in a better position to be grateful for the many good things that have unfolded in the years since. Because of my parents' divorce, I have new loving parents in my life. Because of my parents' divorce, I have 2 sisters. Because of my parents' divorce, Ellie has more grandparents than she will ever be able to keep track of. Christmas. What a rare benefit of divorce. Because of my parents' divorce, I am who I am today. Out of a formless void of pain, anger, and loss, new life has emerged. And I'm grateful for that. So, church, that's all of you. Maybe there is some difficult truth in your life that you are struggling to see and accept today. Maybe there is some loss that is unbearably hard to release right now. Maybe you have seen some new shoots of life emerging through what has mostly felt like concrete and drought. Moving toward gratitude is a long process. It is not about a sudden, quick fix. So wherever you find yourself on this path today, please allow yourself the time and the space to really get what you need along the way. The process of moving toward gratitude in this way is similar to practicing Sabbath, in that it requires a certain amount of intention, willingness to unplug from the rush of our daily living. So I want to invite you now to take a moment to pause and reflect on where you are in this process. What truths are before you? What losses are real right now? What new life is emerging? So you think about that. I'm going to play some notes. In our scripture today, you heard words that Paul wrote, words about rejoicing. Rejoicing in the Lord always. Rejoicing always. I'm going to start with a confession here. I am not someone who feels like rejoicing always. Are you? Is anyone here someone who feels like rejoicing always? Okay, friends, one of the things about Paul that can be hard is that we can tend to read his letters like they are the voice of God for us. because they appear in our sacred text. And if we believe that God is telling us to rejoice always or there's something wrong with us, I don't think that's a helpful way to approach this passage. But if we take it instead, like Paul is our enthusiastic preacher uncle, forwarding excited emails to us, some of which has some good wisdom and some of which is kind of like, I think it's a little bit easier to digest. So I suggest that we look at this from that standpoint, taking what is useful and setting aside that which may not be. Rejoice in the Lord always. So Paul wrote those words in prison. He wrote them having been taken and held captive, prohibiting him from fulfilling his one dream, which was to carry the gospel message to the end of the world as he knew it to be, to take it all the way to Spain, it turns out. That's where he was trying to go, Iberia. But they got him, and they held him. And in that prison cell, he had to face the reality that this was a dream that he would have to let go of. And he found a way yet, in the midst of this, to turn to God, to write, rejoice always. Rejoice in the Lord always. And so whether you're someone who can rejoice always or not, I think there's something really profound about being able to turn to God in the midst of our circumstances. It's a way of helping us see things as they really are. It's a way of helping us release that which has been lost. A way of helping us see where new life is emerging. So now we're going to sing a song together. The words are simple. I will trust in the Lord. I will trust in the Lord. I will trust in the Lord till I die. Then I've added a couple of extra verses. I will abide in the Lord. I will turn to the Lord. And yes, I will rejoice in the Lord. All right? So whatever is yours to claim, let's rise up. In heart or in spirit, sing this together.